Okay, hello and welcome to the first in a series of videos of getting started with Joomla from Viria Technologies. Obviously to get started we need somewhere that we can install Joomla. So to start with we're going to download a localhost server. You can use WAMP, which is the one that we'll be using. There are other versions, so XAMPP is quite popular, which is cross-platform. There's also MAMP, which you can use on a Mac machine, but for now we're going to use WAMP server. So you just Google search for it or go to wampserver.com. It's an open source product, but you can donate, and if you use it a lot I would suggest you make a donation. The other thing you need to be aware of is that sometimes it does come with versions of PHP or other software that isn't compatible. So sometimes if there's a problem with the newer version of PHP and Joomla doesn't run very well on it, then you may need to download a different module. So you'd come back to this site and you can get them from here. So we're going to go ahead and download. I'm on a 64-bit machine, so I'll download a 64-bit. And all a WAMP server is basically is it runs the three things that you need to run your Joomla installation. So it runs Apache as a web server, it runs MySQL or MySQL as a database server, and it runs PHP. So we'll just wait for that to download and then we'll go ahead and install it. Okay, so here we go. Of course you will read through this and understand it in its entirety. This is the location where WAMP's going to install. So if you don't want it to install in C drive WAMP, then you can choose another location, but I'm quite happy with it to install there. I usually create a desktop icon, but that's just because I like to have it on my desktop because I use it quite a lot. And we'll run the installer. So what this is basically doing is it's setting up all these things that would normally run on your server, where your website runs, on your local machine. So it means that you can use this as a test environment. So if you're running updates or if you are making changes to a site or something like that, rather than doing it live on the site, you can have a play around locally, and then when you know it works, you can then upload the changes to your web server. And we'll go through another way of doing that rather than just the old-fashioned way, which is uploading the files. We'll talk about using a keyword backup in a later presentation, a later session. So the only problems you tend to get with installing these things is sometimes when you install Apache, if you've also got Skype installed, which a lot of people do, sometimes Skype tries to use the same port as Apache, and so it won't start properly. All you need to do, and I've got my Skype options up here, is if when you go to Advanced in Skype, so you can get this up by going through your options menu in Skype. When you click on connection, there's this box, use port 8 and 443 as alternatives for incoming connections. That's what causes the problem. It tries to use port 80, and that's the port that Apache tries to use. So we just need to untick that, and it won't try and use that. And it says you need to restart Skype. Well, that's fine. I'll restart Skype. No problem. Please choose your default browser. Now I use Firefox personally as my default browser, and it would really annoy me if it kept opening in Internet Explorer. So I will navigate to Mozilla Firefox. and say please open all my links in Mozilla Firefox. But if you use Chrome, then you would navigate to Chrome. If you use IE, you'd navigate to IE. Okay, this just leave as it is. There's no real need to change anything. And we're all done. So launch WAMP server now. And I've got Microsoft Security Essentials installed, so it's warning that these haven't been classified as a risk. Well, I might as well send it to them. Never seen that before. Okay, so looking at WAMP server now, you can see the icon in my taskbar. It says the server's offline when it was red. Can you now see it's gone orange? So that means my services are starting up. Let's try and put my server online. Oh, we haven't finished starting services. Let's just quit Skype and restart and see if that lets me. Because I had that box ticked already in Skype, it probably means that Skype was already using the port that Apache wants to use. So now that I've closed that down, I'll try and restart all services, and hopefully that should be able to bring my server back online. There we go, so it's changed green, so that means the server's online, hot, sweet and normal. And then when I left click, I can say put the server online, and we should be online. So now when I left click, I've got all these options in my menu. Localhost will bring up the web page. It shows me what's running on localhost. PHPMyAdmin brings up a database interface so that you can access your database tables and rows and do stuff with it. www directory, you will get familiar with where this is. It's in wherever you installed it. So we did C drive WAMP, it's in a folder called www. So if you want to create a new site, say I want to create a new site called, let's go for, what should we call it, Joomla training. Then I create a new folder, so this is my website, and I put all the files in there that I want to have on my website, and that's how you create a new site on WAMP server. Just to quickly go over the other options in the menu. So you've got Apache, and this will tell you what version you're running. And when I said about being on the WAMP server website, you can get other versions of PHP, of Apache, sorry. And likewise, you can get other versions of PHP. So if there is a problem with one particular version and you need to downgrade, you just download the module from WAMP server. You can also access things like stopping and starting particular services. So if you need to restart Apache or you need to restart MySQL, then you can do that through this menu, and you can test and see if it's working. These are all the Apache modules that are installed. Each of these does a different thing, and there are a few that you may need to switch on. So one is mod rewrite, and that's quite commonly used for rewriting URLs. Here we go, so rewrite module. And if you enable these, you do need to restart the server for it to happen, and so you can see the server just restarted there. I always right click instead of left click, it's just like a Windows user thing. The other things you might need are, like in the Apache you had your modules, you've also got extensions in PHP. You probably want to turn on curl, because a lot of Joomla stuff uses curl. I'll just wait for that to come back online. There we go, while the service is restarting. if you're doing anything incorporating Moodle or anything like that, you may need to turn on mcrypt as well. There's probably a couple of others that we need to turn on at some point, but we can do that at a later date. There's not much really to do with MySQL. If you need the console, it's there, but again, you probably won't need it. What you may need is in PHP ini, you may need to change the sizes that you're allowed to upload. We'll go over that in a later session. So there we go. That's how to install WAMP server and a quick overview of how it works. Join me on the next one for installing your first Joomla installation on WAMP server.